Hello and welcome to the channel. A rather simple trigonometric equation, isn't it? The tricky part here is to write the solution in a single line. Take your time, relax, and try to solve it on your own. No restrictions to the domain. The equation makes sense for any real values of x. And of course, we are going to use the identity sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So we make a substitution, sine squared of x over 3 equals t, in which case cosine squared of x over 3 equals 1 minus t. We actually need fourth degree of sine, which is t squared, and the fourth degree of cosine of x over 3, which is 1 minus t all squared. So the given trigonometric equation for x turns into a quadratic equation for t. Now we of course move all terms to the left hand side and distribute meanwhile, reduce common terms, and multiply both sides of the equation by 8. Now we can use the well-known formula for the roots of a quadratic equation. For this particular equation we get two roots, 3/4 and a quarter. What remains is getting back from t to x. We have t equals sine squared of x over 3, therefore t must be non-negative, but to our frustration both roots are positive, so they both stay. For the first value of t we have sine squared of x over 3 equals 3/4, and here comes the tricky part. If we just write the sine of x over 3 equals plus or minus square root of 3 over 2, we would have two equations for x, giving two branches of x only for the first value of t, and we would have two branches for the second value of t, giving 4 branches in total, while we need only one line for all values of x. Think of how splitting the values of x can be avoided. The way out is getting rid of the square by applying the formula for the sine of half angle. Substituting 2x over 3 for alpha gives 1 minus cosine of 2/3 of x all divided by 2 for the left hand side of the equation, which is equal to 3/4. Now we have a linear equation for the cosine of 2/3 of x, which we solve and find out that cosine of 2/3 of x equals -half. In the similar way, we get the equation corresponding to the second value of t. This time we get +half for the cosine of 2/3 of x. Still we have two equations for x and two possible branches. How can we reduce it to a single branch? We can merge two equations into a single one by writing that the absolute value of cosine of 2/3 of x equals 1/2. And we can raise the equation into square without acquiring extra roots. Now guess what? We are going to again get rid of the square, this time by applying the formula for cosine of half angle, having plus instead of minus. This time we substitute 4x over 3 for alpha, and get 1 plus cosine of 4x over 3 all divided by 2, which is equal to 1/4. And we have another linear equation to solve. And we do solve it, and find that cosine of 4/3 of x equals -half. This is a textbook equation for cosine, so we apply a textbook formula for it. Since arc cosine of 1/2 is pi over 3, arc cosine of -half is pi minus pi over 3, or 2/3 of pi. In order to get the value of x, we need to multiply both sides of the equality by 3/4. And we can make the expression for x neater by factoring out pi over 2. So far, so good. But can we do it in a natural way, without need to merge several branches? Yes, we can. This time we complete the left-hand side of the equation to full square by adding and subtracting 2 times sine squared of x over 3 times cosine squared of x over 3. The first 3 terms form a full square of sine squared of x over 3 plus cosine squared of x over 3, which is of course 1. To the remaining expression we apply the formula for sine of double angle, from which we find the sine of x over 3 times cosine of x over 3 equals half sine of 2x over 3. Raising the equation into square turns factor half to quarter. However, multiplying by 2 brings the factor back to half. And again we apply the formula for the sine of half angle, from which it follows the sine squared of 2x over 3 equals 1 minus cosine of 4x over 3 all divided by 2. But factor half in front of sine squared turns the denominator from 2 into 4. And again we have a linear equation for cosine of 4x over 3, which we solve and again find out that cosine of 4x over 3 equals negative half, which means the same answer as we got before. But this time we obtained it in a shorter way. And this is the end.